In today's video, we're going to be going over the most underrated player from each team. Let's get into it. And starting off with the Boston Celtics, we have Kristaps Porzingis. I believe he's just going to fit with this Boston team very well, and he's coming off one of the best seasons he's had of his career. And he definitely helps with the spacing on the floor, as he did average 2 threes a game last season, and that's 3-point makes. And he also had a 50% field goal percentage, which is very high as well. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young. And now in a past video, I explained why Trae Young is the most underrated player in the NBA. Because this guy's a really short guard, and he was putting up crazy numbers, as he was averaging 26 points a game and put up 10 assists, which I believe for a guard his size, it's pretty tough to do, to average 26 points a game and 10 assists. I just believe that this guy's criminally underrated. Now moving on, we got the Chicago Bulls, which I feel like the obvious answer is Alex Caruso. Now this guy was the main engine for the Chicago Bulls' top 5 defense last year. And he was also named to the NBA's all-defense first team, which this was the first time that he achieved this in his career. And he also was joined on the team by Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Evan Mobley, and also Jaren Jackson Jr. But this guy's one of the best defenders in the game. And to come from where he was being undrafted, I think this is pretty crazy. Next up, we have the New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson. Brunson shocked a lot of fans last season, as he signed a huge contract with the New York Knicks, and people did not think it was worth it at all, but he proved them wrong, as he averaged 24 points a game, and that was a huge jump from the season before. And this guy just turned into an utter star for New York. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets with Nicholas Claxton. He had an incredible season last year, as he improved in almost every bit of his game. And he definitely took a leap in his defensive ability, because he went from just averaging 1.1 blocks per game from the 21 to 22 season to averaging 2.5 blocks per game the season after. And out of 76 games played, Claxton only played 6 games where he did not record a block. Claxton also showed a soft touch around the rim, as he led the NBA in field goal percentage. And I just think he's a very underrated rim protector. Next up, we have the Philadelphia 76ers with Tyrese Maxey. I just believe that this man is very underrated, because he took the offensive load whenever Joel Embiid was injured and James Harden was just being inconsistent. And this guy was a big part of the sweep over the Nets. And he also had a very solid stat line, averaging 20 points per game, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds, while shooting 48% from the field goal and also shooting a 60.5 true shooting percentage. I just believe that he's very underrated. Next up, we have the Toronto Raptors with OG Anunoby. OG had a very impressive season, as he appeared in 67 of the Raptors games this season, and he was a defensive force. He finished with a career high with 2 steals per game, which led the NBA. And he also helps the team get it done on the offensive end as well. But this man just continues to improve each and every season, and I just believe he's very underrated. Next up, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers with Darius Garland. I mean, this man was very impressive last season, as he set a career high in scoring, and he handed out loads of assists. And he's the only person in Cavalier history to average at least 20 points per game, 7 assists, while shooting at least 41% or better from 3-point range. And with the addition of Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs, I feel like Darius Garland's playmaking ability just got that much more better. Now moving on to the next team, we have the Detroit Pistons with Jalen Duren. And for his rookie season, he impressed a lot of fans, as he showed what he was capable of, as he showed his ability to crash the glass, block shots, and on the offensive end, he was very good in the passing game. And this guy was definitely the best option for the center position for the Pistons last season, as he had gotten moved into the starting lineup in early December. But he's just talented, and I just believe he's the most underrated from this team. Now moving on to the Indiana Pacers with Buddy Hield. I mean, this man is an absolute sniper from the offensive end, because he knocked down 288 threes this season while shooting 42.5% from long range. And his spacing definitely makes life easier for his teammates. And with Hield on the court, the Pacers scored 114.4 points per 100 possessions. But I just love the duo between him and Halliburton, because Halliburton's playmaking ability and then Hield's shot-making ability really just meshes well with each other. The next team up is the Milwaukee Bucks with Bobby Portis. He finished third in voting behind Malcolm Brogdon and Emmanuel Quickley for the Sixth Man of the Year award. And whenever Giannis missed, Bobby Portis stepped right in and averaged about 17 points per game and 10 rebounds as well. And this guy just provided the team with a jolt of energy, defense, and timely shot making just off of the bench. And I just believe that he's a very great player to have on a team with his grit and overall toughness. This man's a pure glass cleaner. Now moving on to the next team, we have the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball. And honestly, when looking at this Hornets roster, there's really nobody on the team that's really stands out that's underrated. And LaMelo Ball was really the only thing I could come up with that was sort of underrated, I felt. And I know that this guy only played in 36 games for the Hornets last season because he dealt with injuries for almost a full year. And right before LaMelo got his ankle injured, the Hornets were on a 5-game winning streak. And that really just showed why the LaMelo Ball would just help your team play winning basketball. Because he averaged a total of 25.4 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. But he just really showed us what he was capable of during that stretch of games. Next up, we got the Miami Heat with Bam Adebayo. I mean, this guy has really shown that he can do it all from both sides of the floor, as he can guard all 5 positions, and he's also great from the offensive end as we've seen him catch crazy lobs. And he also has some pretty good performances from the playoffs from this season as well. But I just believe that his game is just really underrated. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic with Markelle Fultz. Now, he started the season injured and did not appear till the start of December, and by the end of the season, he averaged 14 points a game, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds, which were all career highs. And him managing to play 60 games somehow this season is very impressive, because during that 60-game stretch, he didn't miss 1 game. But I believe that this man's very underrated, and I just want to give a honorable mention shout out to Cole Anthony, because he could have made this as well. Now moving on to the Washington Wizards, we have Tyus Jones. I mean, this man stepped right up for the Grizzlies last season when Ja Morant went out, because whenever he was out, he averaged 16.4 points a game while getting 8 assists, shooting 50% from the field and 41.5% on 3-pointers. I mean, this man's numbers were there, and he showed why he can truly be a starting point guard. The next team up is the Denver Nuggets with Aaron Gordon. I mean, this man's defensive ability last year was crazy, because he would always take the challenge of guarding the other team's best player, and he would consistently lock them up. And he's also very great on the offensive end and cutting to the rim as well, as the man had a lot of lobs last year, and he was just terrific. So I think this man's very underrated. Next up, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves with Jaden McDaniels. And to be honest, I think this man really deserved to be on an all-defensive team this year, because this man was the only player in the NBA to get 75 plus blocks and 70 plus steals during the regular season. And he consistently took on and locked up the league's toughest defensive matchups, which made him one of the toughest defenders in the league last season. Now moving on, we have the OKC Thunder with Jalen Williams. I mean, this man absolutely came out of nowhere last season, and he finished second in Rookie of the Year votes. And just like Shea, Williams is an extremely efficient scorer who dominates inside the paint off and on the ball. And if he can continue to develop his ball handling skills, he can turn into a legit all-star type of player. And I just believe that this guy's very underrated, his defense is great, and he'll be really good for the Thunder moving on. Now the next team we have is the Trailblazers with Anthony Simons. Simons is a very elite 3-point threat, and he can score from anywhere on the floor. And his all-around game is enough to force defenses to respect the possibility for a drive. And he uses it to get high percentage shots from the arc. And he's also a very great guard when he's playing off of the ball. And the one thing he could work on is his defense, but overall, I feel like this man's very underrated. Next up, we have the Utah Jazz with Walker Kessler. Now, Kessler had a great showing in his rookie season. I mean, this man was a terrific rim protector, where he averaged 2.3 blocks per game throughout the season, which was 4th in the NBA. But this man caused a lot of problems for opposing teams that tried to drive on him. And as the season went on, his offense picked up as well. And he finished 5th in most total shots contested in the NBA from the season. And I honestly believe that Kessler has a bunch of room to improve on his offensive game, but he has a lot of time to do that. And I definitely feel like we could see him being in the race for a defensive player of the year someday. Now moving on with the Golden State Warriors, we got Andrew Wiggins. I mean, this man's one of the most valuable two-way wings in the league. And he's also one of the most reliable players for the Warriors. And he's one of the key pieces to that championship from the other year. But overall, this guy is definitely the most underrated from the Warriors. Now moving on to the LA Clippers, we got Russell Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook checked a lot of the boxes for what the Clippers needed last season, which was an experienced floor general. And I just believe that he fits perfectly with this Clippers team because he's surrounded with the right pieces, unlike when he was on the Lakers. But he is for sure the most underrated Clipper. Now moving on with the Los Angeles Lakers, we got Roy Hachimura. And he helped the Lakers a lot because the Lakers needed some size for that front court. And he's 6'8". He has a great frame, and his physicality at posting up smaller players is unmatched. And he had some good moments for the Lakers whenever they were in the playoffs, like when he won against the Grizzlies in Game 1, whenever he put up 29 points and shot 5 out of 6 shots from beyond the arc. And I'm glad that the Lakers re-signed him because I believe he fits perfectly with this team. Now moving on with the Phoenix Suns, we have DeAndre Ayton. Now Ayton is literally to the point where he's so hated to the point that he's literally underrated. And he shot a 59% field goal percentage as well. And he did have 2 games this season where he put up 20 plus rebounds. Now moving on with the Sacramento Kings, we got Malik Monk. Now I think Monk was one of the best free agent signings in the Kings history. And this man was one of the best 6 men of the year last season, and he had one of the best overall seasons of his career. And he also developed a really fantastic give and go chemistry with Domantas Sabonis throughout the season. And his production coming off the bench was really just unreal. Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks with Grant Williams. Now, Grant Williams was a great signing by the Dallas Mavericks, and I just believe he'll just be a key player because he was whenever he played it for Boston, and he's just very versatile as he can just do it from both ends of the floor. Next up, we have the Houston Rockets with KPJ. I just believe that his offensive game is very underrated and undervalued as he had the best season of his career. And I think with the Rockets getting Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet, I think it'll set KPJ up for better shots off the ball. But Porter Jr. last season averaged 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. And on the defensive side, he also averaged a little over a steal per game. The next team we got is the Memphis Grizzlies with Desmond Bane. He finished the season averaging 21.5 points and 5 rebounds a game. And his role evolved for the Grizzlies as he had the ball in his hands more as like a secondary facilitator. And his assists jumped from 2.7 per game last season to 4.4 this year. And he also finished his 3rd consecutive season shooting better than 40% on 3-pointers. And this past season, he definitely improved on his defense as well. Now moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans, we have Herb Jones. I mean, this dude is an absolute elite defender. And Herb Jones ranks 1st in all second-year NBA players for steals per game at 1.6. And he was also very great in drawing charges. And don't sleep on his offense neither because he definitely showed what he can do from the offensive end. Because, for example, in a game versus the Grizzlies from April, he put up 35 points and went 5 from 8 from 3-point range. And I just believe that Herb Jones is just very underrated. Now with the final team, we have the San Antonio Spurs with Keldon Johnson. Now Keldon opened up the season, doing pretty well, and he didn't end off the year on a high note. But I still do believe that he is the most underrated player from this team because he still managed to put up 22 points a game, 5 and 3. And one thing that definitely improved from the season before was his defense. And I still believe he's just very young and he still has a lot of room to grow. And I believe that he'll have a lot of impact for the Spurs team in the future. But let me know down in the comments below if you agree with this list, or if you think I got any wrong, just make sure to let me know. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.